extract.
Hold on, let's go back.
That could extract as much wealth from the artist. How it look?
I am back.
This is exposing hip hop's original industry plants. Kinda.
How it look?
Back.
Welcome back. Oh my god, wait, it's FD does not like Drake. So is he? Yo, how he's the way he had that unfold to Drake is hilarious. I'm sorry.
Wealth from the artist. How it look?
Easy money.
Okay.
You create somebody who is the most radical persona of counterculture as possible.
Right? Oh yeah, he's right.
And feed them hits.
That's true. FD.
So there are
my
few
nigga.
terms in
Oh, he loud as fuck. Hold on, let me turn.
hip hop that serve as like a truly grievous insult to any self-respecting rapper. There's biter,
Yo, man, you're biting. All your homeboys are biting.
sellout,
Yo, is the reason why you don't call me no more is because you a sellout or because you just a star?
studio gangster, Stan, and many others. To call a rapper one of those terms, at least back in my day, probably still up to now, those were fighting words for the most part. However, there's a new term that is taking on a much more prominent role as an insult to alleged
Industry
fake
plant.
rappers and rap artists, and that term is industry plant.
Oh yeah.
What is that term, and why is it such a big insult, not just to rappers, but pretty much to any modern musician? In an essay on a website called Loud and Quiet, a writer named Daniel Dillon Ray describes the industry plant as such. Largely accepted to mean an artist who presents themselves as being independent and doing things on their own terms, but secretly has the industry backing and money to fund them and to artificially shape such a narrative. And I think that's a pretty good definition, but it doesn't get at why this term has become more of an insult today than, say, 20 years ago. For most of the existence of a music industry, having corporate backing of some sort was kind of a requirement. Most musicians didn't have the ability to press up their own records, let alone distribute them widely. So as the music industry developed, the role of administrative, industrial production company became a prominent aspect of making money as a musician. And the control of that part of the industry was worth a lot of money. But today, however, none of that matters. You don't need to press up records or CDs. You're basically uploading your brand new song to your Spotify account or TikTok, hoping it will go viral. You're no longer working with a label or a distribution company to get your CD to be released at the best time of the year, to go to Circuit City on a Tuesday to buy the album.
Circuit City.
Circuit City doesn't even exist.
Whoa, what's that?
Never heard of
Circuit City. Circuit City. Circuit City. Why it sound kind of familiar? Circuit City.
That was popular when, like, I mean,
Circuit,
it was like another Radio Shack.
Circuit City. Huh. It has an interesting ring to it. Nope.
Anymore.
Doesn't
If you're
ring a
under
bell.
the age of 25, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about. Instead, in 2024, you're waiting until release Friday to see what your stream data
Yep.
looks like. As independent music has become much more
Me.
viable, the wealth and power of the music industry has diminished, and this has led to the industry making a greater effort to control what little music culture they have left
Type
under
shit.
their thumb, which has allegedly led to them purposely trying to manufacture or plant
Faking
corporately
streams
backed artists
too.
into the popular discourse. And these
Right.
artists then make
Industry
good but
plants.
relatively unoffensive, unchallenging mainstream music with the hope of reshaping the music landscape in a way that maybe gives these industry forces more power, or at least makes them some decent money that they wouldn't have made otherwise. And if true, yeah, I can see why such a thing might be seen as shameful to participate in as an artist. If you're a plant, that means that you're willing to sell your soul for the sake of being famous, that you're not a real artist, that you're allowing yourself to
Sweetie.
to be
Perfect
used by
example.
the industry instead of charting your own path, and that you weren't giving the world your
Yeah,
best art,
she's
or
such
worse
a
yet,
bad
you're getting
artist.
in the way of other.
I respect Sweetie's business mind, but as an artist, she knows she's not good. She just needs to be good enough to keep the brand going so she can get them brand deals. And for that, I'm always gonna have respect for that angle. But as an artist, I don't have to lie about how bad she is. She's horrible. She's gotten better, you know, like she went from like lower trash to like upper trash, you know, recently. Nah, I gotta call her medium trash. Yeah. As an artist, not the person, but like the artist.
Better artists, but
She's
this
just not
is
that
also
good. Like
why,
some people just aren't talented. It just aren't.
to me, that concept doesn't make a lot
Gotta
of
be
sense,
honest.
because if you ask me, as long as good art is being made, I don't have a huge problem with the industry taking part in it. It's the reality of the situation. The fact is that artist and development was a huge part of the old ways of making music, and I think it's sorely missed today. I think we're probably on a lot of levels getting worse music from not every artist, but some artists than if they had a bigger team forcing them to improve their craft. Like, the running joke is that Lil Baby has been making the same 3 songs over and over for the past 5-6 years. If he was forced into a real development situation, that maybe wouldn't be happening. At the same time, the existence of suspected industry plants like Chance the Rapper, Jack Harlow, Billie Eilish
Yeah,
does raise a
definitely
few
Jack
eyebrows.
Harlow. Definitely Jack Harlow, because they shot him straight up to the top. And he is mid, but he's white. So, I mean, let's just be honest about it. It's easier to sell. You know?
In terms of how they get so big and so popular.
This is why I got so much respect for Eminem, because at least he was actually talented. To some extent, he has some type of skill set a lot of people don't have. And then there's Jack Harlow on the other end. Just night and day.
Popular while not necessarily having such groundbreaking music. This is
What'd
definitely
you say?
No, I was repeating what you said.
Yeah, it's like 2 completely different universes. Like, it's like if I got a Eminem as my gold standard for white boy rappers, why would I accept anything less than that? You gotta be better than Eminem for me to really like give you some type of crazy respect. Otherwise, I know that there's multiple black rappers who are way better at the craft that don't get half or a fraction of the attention. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're not him, all of y'all are basically trying to be Eminem. Why would I get someone trying to beat Eminem when I could just listen to Eminem? Like, none of y'all could do it as good as him. Y'all all sound corny when y'all try to do that same style. So it's like, girl, I'm not. I'm sorry. I have a very high standard for white rappers. It's just facts. It's just facts, man. Because like every one of them that gets pushed and marketed is one more black artist or rapper that's not able to get even a shot. You know? Or it's gonna get even more exploited in their deal. So it's like, just understand, and when you come into someone else's culture as a guest, people are just gonna have higher standards. Like Jack Harlow mad because people don't overrate him pretty much. He don't like the fact that some people think he's okay. Yeah, he think people saying he's trash or just okay or good is like a slap in the face. Like, come on, bro.
How are you, love? How was your week? And do you have any plans for your weekend? I'm landing late, so this might be a disaster. Is anyone over here? I might land.
But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, I'm sorry I got distracted. But like, yeah. In respect to the white rappers that really have a deep respect for hip hop, not just surface level. You have a respect for black people, black culture. Yeah, this even applied to the white hip hop fans. Unless you're one of those, I really don't have no type of respect for you, like engaging in our culture. Like, unless you're like actually serious about respecting, because a lot of them aren't. A lot of them listen to hip hop and stuff. Yo, Cornbread Main, W new follow, appreciate you. Welcome to the stream. How did you find the stream? But yeah, like it's just for me. We need to gatekeep our culture more. That's how I feel. I feel like our culture is very. We just too willing to share it, too willing to commodify it, but at the same time, I'm not really judgmental of people for that, because when you're put in a position where generations of your family have been set back, people are going to be more willing and eager to do things for money. So it's a very difficult position to where it's like, although I don't like it happening, I'm not mad at or judging the people that do choose the money and trying to help their family and the people around them. Like it's a tough position, man. It's not something we shouldn't be in the position the way we are now. In the terms of like what we're willing to do to like get money or advance our generations of our family and stuff like that, you know?
All right.
So it's just unfortunate all around. It's unfortunate. You hate to see it. But that's the position our black art is in, so you know, it just sucks.
The truth for Jack Harlow.
I agree.
But that also doesn't mean that they have an oversized level of influence on the industry either, or that great music isn't still being made today by them or other artists, just like great music was being made 20, 30 years ago. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly where the so-called industry plant really should exist, at least in 2024. This conspiracy theory doesn't fully add up once you scrutinize it a bit. To me, the whole thing is given barbershop argument. It's mostly something that people say to disparage an artist that they don't like and don't have a good reason to dislike. But that doesn't mean that this concept is completely without merit, nor that it may not have a historical significance. And that brings me to this video's main topic. What if I told you that hip hop may have had the first ever industry plant way back in the 80s, well before we knew what an industry plant was? And what if I told you that in this case, that industry plant was able to dominate all of hip hop for half a decade and be a significant influence on trends, fashion, media, and music in ways that maybe they didn't deserve? That this act was on the same level as Will Smith, Rakim, Run DMC, and they created dance and fashion trends, starred in crossover media, and in many ways were more prominent and with greater celebrity status than any rapper or rap group had ever been up to that point, all while being barely recognizable on whatever thumbnail I'm using right now. This is the thumbnail like now. It may not be when you actually click on this, just keeping it real with y'all. This is a rap duo that literally shaped a ton of black culture at the time out of nowhere. Yet today, them and their music is barely relevant from one of hip hop's most relevant, memorable eras. You might ask, how could anyone from that era be so influential in the moment and then mostly forgotten as time goes on? Was it because they were propped up by the industry? Or was it because of something deeper, possibly more sinister? And how did all of this affect and change hip hop as we know it today, for better or possibly for worse? To understand this, we have to ask, what happened with Kid and Play? So it's the late 80s, and this musical genre called hip hop that was born out of New York in the late 70s is starting to grow from local niche scene in New York block and house parties into a major music industry business. And the potential for huge hit tracks and major star power are starting to emerge. Early breakout acts like Kurtis Blow and
Yo, Cornbread Man, what's good, man?
Grandmaster Flash released some of the biggest hits in hip
I
hop
heard of
history as
Grandmaster
early as
Flash.
1980. Nucleus gives us Jam On It. The Sugar Hill Gang has their second huge hit with Apache. This is hip hop's most fun era, and when we don't take things too seriously, which also means this era gets overlooked and misunderstood a lot, even by yours truly. There's probably a few reasons for this, but mostly I think is because these early 80s songs, groups, and acts were still much more beholden to disco and funk sounds and aesthetics. They didn't look like hip hop yet. This is semantics, I know, and please old and older heads, don't come for me. I'm just giving my opinion, but consider what a lot of these acts looked like and then compare that to what Run DMC looked like back in 1984, 85. When you look at Grandmaster Flash and the Sugar Hill Gang, you still see the flamboyant, cartoonish imagery and the aesthetics of the disco influence that birthed them. Many of their songs include live bands, and the songs themselves could be 7 or 8 minutes long because they included break beats, because hip hop originated as dance music.
Yo, what's good, Cornbread Man?
And party music. But Run DMC, while still being somewhat connected to this aesthetic, introduced something different, something cooler and edgier, more bravado, more macho, more brand conscious, and more explicitly black. At the disco, everyone was invited: black folks, white folks, rich, poor, straight, queer. It was an alternative youth movement, but hip hop, which owes as much to the urban centers of New York as it does to disco nightclubs, was becoming much more black and brown and very male centered, intense and aggressive, and Run DMC embodied all of this, even as they crossed over to white audiences, which is another incredibly important feature to the awakening of hip hop.
With Aerosmith, legendary collab to this day.
As a national and eventually a global music force. Run DMC found ways to penetrate white audiences using more rock-oriented sounds in a lot of the records that they made, including making songs with, at the time, rock juggernaut Aerosmith. It was the first example of the crossover potential of hip hop to draw in white youth audiences the same way that jazz and rock and roll did previous generations. But as a new twist of the formula, Run DMC also became the first hip hop act to be brand conscious. The cool jumpsuits, the fat gold chains, and probably most significantly, the shell-toe
legends, bro.
Adidas, all were as important a part of the music as anything else, and paved the way for rappers to be celebrities and influencers as we might think of them today. Their song My Adidas allegedly got them $1 million endorsement deal in the 80s, which meant it was basically like $1 billion. And this surely put all of the corporate powers on notice that hip hop was a potential gold mine for the culture industry. The term the culture industry isn't just something I made up. It refers to the work of German philosophers Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer. And I won't bog you down with a ton of philosophy, but they theorized nearly 75, 100 years ago that capitalism would eventually be the driving force behind art and music, that our movies, music, dramas, pretty much everything that becomes expression of culture would eventually be negatively affected by capitalism, because the industry that funds these cultural artifacts will put monetary gain ahead of artistic expression. And they have been pretty much proven right, especially as we look at popular movies and music right now. We have the superhero genre and the huge tentpole blockbuster.
I'm so tired of all the superhero movies, all the fake ass Mission Impossible recreations. They keep trying to remake Ocean's 11, you know, or Ocean 8, whatever, you know, that Ocean series. It's like they're repeating the same thing. Or it's a scary movie. They all do the same type of shit. They do the same type of shit. Like, what are we doing? Like, I feel like I'm watching the same movie over again, but it's never a better version of the first version. Like, Mission Impossible, haven't seen a movie, an action movie able to replicate it. Like, they just can't, you know? And yeah, as for the music, I don't know, man. I feel like I don't be listening to the mainstream music as much. Like, yeah, some artists, but like, I got a nice variety of music to where I'm never really bothered about like what's circulating, because I'm usually not listening to it. Like, I don't need to listen to no playlist that's basically a replacement for the radio. I'm good. I'll just make my own playlist, and each playlist got a different vibe, so I can just, you know, curate my own music. I think that's more interesting. Cornbread Main said, oh yeah, I got you. I'll definitely pull up to a stream. I mess with FD heavily. FD, go to YouTuber. Facts, he's one of my faves. I like every genre of music almost. For me, I always say I pretty much can listen to any genre, you know, as long as it sounds good. But the only genre I don't like, bro, is heavy metal. That's my hard line. I'm just like, nah, I'm good. He should have more subscribers than what he got. I agree, but I like what he's doing with the second channel. I think he'll be good. Loco Chat 30 with the W. Follow. Appreciate you. How we feeling? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. FD's amazing. Super underrated. I was just looking at his sub count, and I was like, dang, he not to 1 million subs already. But but he's goated regardless how like he's doing this the hard way. This man, all his videos damn near like 30-40 plus minutes long. He got some that's almost 2 hours. So like for me, from a content creator's perspective, what he's doing has been incredible because he's one of the main people leading the way that let me know that, hey, it might take longer, it might be a different journey, but doing the longer content is okay. Doing the longer content can work. You just need to have something interesting enough for people to want to watch. That's a lot easier said than done. But to me, like, the amount of support and the quality community he's built has definitely been inspirational to me. And I mean, I'm just glad I found his channel. And I'm glad that more people are discovering who he is, because like he really does deserve like a lot more support. But he has a lot of support now. Like the community is strong as fuck. So, and I just love what he does, like putting a platform on all the other up and coming or even established other Black video essays, content creators, or the other allies in the community. Like he does a lot of good work with a lot of people. I'm glad he decided to go with YouTube full time because he's giving us some good content and a lot of stuff to think about. And it's a lot to aspire to in the way that he does this, but it's been cool to see the journey for sure. With all the short form content crazy is still possible, yeah. And I like what he's done, like on that second channel he has, the Signify B-sides. He's really been putting in a lot of work with that because he does, like, they're not like low production, but it's not as much production as say like this video, not as long, more like natural flowing conversation or just like ranting and stuff. That's a real good idea that he's like started doing, because all he has to do is put a little bit more editing production in that and the views start, you know, going up. So now even when he don't make these long ass videos, he can have like 4 or 5 videos posted over there in a month, you know. So I like what he's done because we get to hear more of his perspective on like things happening in the moment instead of like these fully planned out videos. But of course, like, this is the main course right here, you know. It's always something to chew on for a long time. Like you can't really just, sometimes you gotta come back like and watch this in multiple parts. But to me that's okay because I rather do that and fully digest what he's saying. But he's one of the goats. Facts W follow. I can't wait to have you metal either, girl. It's like it just goes like too far for me. It goes a little too far. Like they're just doing a little too much. But metal, I can fuck with metal though. I can fuck with metal. I can even fuck with some screamo shit. Like, but I'm not about to listen to a whole screamo song most likely. But like the influence, you know, I've heard people dip and dab into the different genres and mix them together. And I'm like, if you make it sound good, I'ma listen. You know what I'm saying? I'ma listen. Oh yeah, we're supposed to be watching a video. My bad, chat.
Films that have become basically the only type of movies that make.
Bro, I'm so tired of all the Marvel. They need their budget cut. I'm sorry if that means somebody lose a job, but I'm tired of it. How many Avengers we gonna get? How many?
1,700.
And then don't get me started on the break off films. Oh my god.
Money in theaters at this point, and worse yet, popular music. Even as we've
don't get me started on fucking Fast and Furious 2. They on what number, like 12? God damn, who's watching that shit? Yo, which one of y'all responsible for keeping Fast and Furious in business? What's the last one y'all saw? See, somebody, I'm blaming one of y'all. It's enough. Once they start making the series, I was out. Yes, they make the series to make it a show and drag it out even more. And don't get me started with these shows that's supposed to be like a branch off of like the movie, and it's just, you know, it's gonna be mid. Like, come on, bro. Which is Fast 67. Yo, I don't know which one. Like it, they just been on since I was a kid. I mean, I don't know, man. Shit's getting crazy out here. Tokyo Drift for me. What? Is that a movie? Oh, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Okay, yeah. Ooh, that was a minute ago. I think I remember this one though.
Taking the industry out of the equation has now just become a slave to trending sounds on TikTok and short 2-minute songs on streaming services, where your favorite rapper will release a bloated 15-track album where only 7 of the songs are good, and then 2 months later release the extended version with 10 more mediocre songs that are all like
mid.
1 minute,
Thank
59
you.
seconds
That's what I would. Come on, man. Talk about it.
long to 250.
I told people this album was ass.
If you're lucky, and the only point to that is to get as many streams as possible, because that's how they make money. So the art of it all has been pretty much murdered.
Thank you.
For
Talk
a
about
lot
it.
of these mainstream.
And this what Drake is bragging about, continuing to put out music, mid-ass music. When was Drake's last good album? If you're reading this, it's too late. That was it. After that, you know, what a time to be alive. Okay, if you want to throw that in there, I understand. After that, everything went downhill. Let's be honest. Let's be real. Vin Diesel goes in fast, and his automatic wheelchair gets family back to retirement home. Fast been going since I was a kid, and I'm 18. Oh, you a jit. Tokyo Drift was so corny. His dad's like, "You're not going out. We do this, dad. I have to." Okay, son. Like, huh? Yo, I would have to go back. That was, watch that so long ago. Like when I was little. You go put the NOS on that bitch. Go have fucking super speed on the what's it called? The motor wheelchair.
Figures. And sure, every once in a while you even get your favorite alternative rapper or R&B artist that does at least break some of the rules. But because they're controlled within the same system, their art is still stifled. In his video,
facts. Talk about it. And run that back.
Of it all to that is to get as many streams as possible, because that's how they make money.
Run that
so
back.
The art of it all has been pretty much murdered for a lot of these mainstream figures. And sure, every once in a while you even get your favorite alternative rapper or R&B artist that does at least break some of the rules, but because they're controlled within the same system, their art is still stifled. In his video, The Culture Industry and the Death of Hip Hop, video essayist One Dime breaks it down perfectly.
The culture industry is a conglomeration of culture-producing factories, which generate cultural commodities for mass consumption. The term commodity here is key. Popular music is an instance of what Adorno calls cultural commodities.
Lost, that was my show. Did anybody else watch that?
Not simply because they are made by the culture industries like big record labels or film studios, but because they are manufactured, like all commodities, solely to realize their exchange value on the capitalist market.
This is like a secret weapon.
Yeah, that's... He'll be at his Midnight Club, Los Angeles timing. Hey, Midnight Club 3 dub edition, best one.
Culture industry are made to make
remix,
money,
actually,
to
remix.
capture the attention of a mass audience and sell as many records as possible.
Now, I'm not blaming Run DMC for this. They were just 2 kids from New York wanting to be a part of this amazing new thing.
Yo, where was Run DMC from in New York?
Called
what borough were they from?
Little did they know that their success would be imitated across the culture so other folks can get their piece of the pie. But keep this in mind as we talk about what's happening around hip hop at this time and what happens going into the future. With Run DMC emerging, the aesthetic of early old school hip hop seemed to change overnight, and you saw the emergence of future legends like Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, the Beastie Boys, Salt and Pepper, LL Cool J, Boogie Down Productions, MC Lyte, EPMD, and Kid and Play. For my old heads watching who are maybe like questioning me.
Why that guy look familiar though? That light skinned dude look familiar.
Kid and Play.
Kid and Play?
For my old heads watching who are maybe like questioning me, name 4 Kid and Play songs. Would you put Kid and Play over any of those acts I named just now from that exact same era? For my young hip hop fans, do you even know who these 2 cats are? You may recognize them just because their look was so iconic, but I doubt it. Even me as a pretty hardcore hip hop head who was there in the moment, targeted by the music, I can only name 2 Kid and Play songs. But again, at the time, they were just as successful as any of those rappers I just named. In fact, they were more successful.
Wait, did they put these dudes in a movie?
Than them, at least for a period of time.
He looked like somebody I saw in a movie.
I like the Sprite in you. Hey, yo, kid,
the light skin one.
Where's the party? Check it out. I'm Kid, and I kid you.
Huh?
House Party. Both
Okay,
of
that
them
was
at House
them?
Party. Yeah.
I knew it. Okay, thank you. I knew it was something, man. Yes, okay, that's where I saw him. All right, cool. So it was like, okay. Not the first rappers in movies, I'm sure, but I would assume they were kind of like earlier on than the 90s. I don't know. I don't know when they came out. I didn't know they were making music. Yeah, I didn't know. I thought they were just actors. Yeah, I don't know if it was House Party 1 or 2, but yeah, I watched one of them. Okay, that's interesting.
My name is Sprite, but I'm not playing. I like the Sprite. You know what I'm saying? I like to kick it live to a sound that's hype.
So let's get into it. Kid and Play's origin story is actually really dope. It's kind of wholesome, too wholesome to be true. It sounds like something in a movie. Kid and Play are really Christopher Reed, Kid, and Christopher Martin, Play. Reed was the son of a Jamaican immigrant and an Irish woman from the Bronx, and Martin was a son of a former
Bert and Ernie
turned preacher in Queens. Kid had a rough go of things as
I didn't even know they kept going after House Party 2.
child, living with
Wait, didn't they do a remake recently?
white Irish mother early in his childhood who was shunned by her family for having a biracial child out of wedlock. She actually died alone apart from her family. And then after his mother died, instead of going with his grandparents, he moved in with his Jamaican grandfather. And the story behind that is
Dang. Those been biracials in rap since way early, huh?
pretty damn ugly. Kid describes this as a culture shock, going from living under this Irish woman
Rap just seems to attract a lot of biracials.
into this all
Nothing
black
wrong with them,
neighborhood with a
just-
Jamaican dad.
it's
However,
funny.
his father provided a solid foundation for him, and Kid was smart and nerdy, which had him on a good track before hip hop fame came calling. On the flip side, Play was your classic street urchin who was essentially saved by hip hop. When he wasn't getting kicked out of 4 different high schools, he was a stick-up kid and was not headed in the right direction. And them meeting as a rival rap and dance crew probably saved his life when he was in high school. Kid was a member of a group called the Turnout Brothers, and Play was a member of the Super Lovers, along with their future DJ, producer, and manager, and a very important figure in this story, Herbie the Love Bug.
And Salt and Pepper came after you guys.
Yeah, Herbie was the third guy who came in, and then Salt and
Herbie.
Pepper. Yeah, Herbie Love Bug, which is our producer manager.
After high school, Kid and Play broke off and made their own duo and tried their hands at making music to make their dreams come true. And it seems like once they became
So from what I'm seeing, right here, Petty, there was a House Party remake in 2013. Can't fucking read. Oh my god. Oh my god. Fucking god. 2023. 2023. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Just got a little annoyed. But it said it was produced by LeBron James, Maverick Carter, has Tosin Cole, Jacob Lattimore, DC Young Fly, and Kid Cudi. I don't know who the other dude is. I'm sorry. Did y'all know about this? Y'all heard about this? All right, now I'm curious. LeBron James, yeah, you know LeBron got a production company. He be doing everything, man. Trailer, okay. I'm sorry, like I gotta see this. Like this is so hey, if you're watching this video, probably on the Plug channel. 10 out of 10 would recommend to sub, and 10 out of 10 would recommend you follow the Twitch with the link in the comments. DC, it looks like he was in it. Hold on, let's see. Oh god, ads. But yeah, if you guys like long tangents and random rants, then you should definitely subscribe and follow the Twitch. Yep. Not biased, very accurate recommendation. Phyllis said hi, YouTube. YouTube, say hi to Phyllis. Oh wait, you can't. I mean, you could in the comments, I guess. You could. They said he was. Okay, hold on. I forgot we was on commercial break. Facts, W, YouTube.
Already.
That's what you get staying out partying all night.
I'm a promoter. I'm working. I got like 18,000 followers.
You know who got followers? Jesus. Take your rude ass to work.
You just cursed. What would Jesus say?
Jesus would say, shut the fuck up. This is my house.
What you know about here with
It already looked corny. I'm sorry.
See you late as usual. You need to clean this place. I ain't got all day. Oh, ew, what the fuck?
Wait, I feel like I might have seen this.
Who? That couch just fluffed itself. Whose crib is this, man? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is dead, fool. I mean, his house died.
yeah.
But this guy should have been King
shit,
Bat.
Cleveland shit, LA shit. Damn, bigger city, bro. Oh my God. We in LeBron's house. LeBron who? James!
Hey there.
Go! Go!
You are one handsome motherfucker.
He got a hologram of himself just to give him compliments.
You handled the decision to go to Miami
That it was okay.
perfectly.
Nah.
That's cap.
I need 10 G's by next week. I gotta pay for my daughter's school. LeBron. They on
Maybe I
vacation.
saw a
How
trailer
about
of
we
this.
throw a party in the king's house? We gonna invite all the celebrities. We can make 10 times the money. We can send Destiny to preschool, college,
End was weird, but most part it was cool.
whatever. Tonight is our last shot. Looks like we up out the house.
Hi, I see you there. How are you?
It's a white man. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. You're going to jail, Kim.
Hi, I'm Peter. Is LeBron home? By the way, Black Lives Matter.
Wait, that's the funny guy, right? Is that the guy that be on the podcast with the Asian dude? That's funny.
I don't know.
There might be one person that knows what I'm talking about in the whole chat. Maybe one. But there's an Asian comedian guy, and he does like a podcast with a ginger white guy. I don't know if that's him or I'm getting him confused with that guy. Yeah, Bobby Lee. Yes. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Is this that guy? Or does he just look like him? Just said to Phyllis, he's probably the only funny guy in this. Oh, really? Okay, so y'all know him? That's him, and he's in Atlanta. Oh, shoot.
I posted 2 squares on my Instagram.
Okay, that is him. Yeah, he's funny. Like, he's legit, like, mid-conversation funny, like, not scripted. Like, he's actually, like, funny.
This is a really bad idea. I wouldn't do something like this unless I was desperate. Shit cracking, bro. Have you seen how out of control this party is? Shit, we done fucked up the koala.
Not the koala smoking.
You good? What the fuck just happened?
Okay, see, one thing to me, like, it's just always gonna be hard making a remake, bro. Versus the original, like, it's just never gonna measure up for some people. So, you just gotta do the best you can. Yeah, I thought those were good cameras. Gotta from Dave. What's that? You talking about the artist, Dave? Nah, I mean, it didn't look too bad. Like, I don't know, but Gator. Who's that? Exodus. He has a show. Little Dicky series, Dave. Oh, I don't think I watched that. I know he had a show, but like, you know, I didn't know nobody actually in there. Yo, thank you for the alert, Cornbread Man. I appreciate you hanging out. It is? Okay, is he a better actor than he is a rapper?
Their own group, they created a very unique and deep bond. Play helped Kid develop a more savvy, charismatic persona and helped him engage with his environment and blackness as a whole.
And the dudes, and all of a sudden you hear this this voice, you know what I'm saying? This voice like you wouldn't believe. It's like, yo, it's the rapper. This is the guy. Let's check out. Let's get up close to the booth and see. And lo and behold, we make our way and we're fighting and we're getting through. And And there's a
There's
guy
about the same
with
mid.
afro with glasses this thick and freckles on his face.
And on the flip side, Kid convinced Play to get out of the streets and get his GED and slow down so that they could actually pursue the music that they were looking into without him possibly facing jail time or death. This dichotomy of Kid as the straight-laced and earnest one and Play as the slick hustler type didn't always play out in their music, but it was a core theme in pretty much all of their films. Also didn't hurt that Kid was biracial and extremely light-skinned to the point of nearly passing, which played into this dichotomy throughout their career. Kid is the main focus of most of their media, especially away from the music, which also was helped by his one-of-a-kind at the time hair, a thick, poofy, high-top fade that was said to be 10 to 12 inches at times. In these early days, however, Kid and Play were still trying to figure out how to get attention outside of that. So they released their first 2 songs as the Fresh Force Crew. Fresh Force? I don't know. It's one of them. It's very 80s, not to be mistaken for the R&B band and writing collective Full Force, who you might remember from their first 2 movies, House Party 1 and 2, as comedic bullies.
Yo, this punk motherfucker throwing shit at us, man. I smell something, man. You smell something? I definitely smell something in my hair. I smell pussy.
But Full Force is also like responsible for some of the best pop hit records of the 90s up into the 2010s. Like seriously, when you look at the resume of the songs that these 3 dudes wrote for everyone from Patti LaBelle to James Brown to Britney Spears to NSYNC. So if I were less disciplined, there would be way more tangents like that. Like this story is so cool. It's like the 6 degrees of separation between Kid and Play and so many significant figures of that time up until now would add a whole extra hour to this video if I didn't force myself to try to keep it to a minimum. But keep factoids like that in mind because it's gonna happen over and over and over again. So as the Fresh Force Crew, Kid and Play released 2 songs, She's a Skeezer and Rock Me, which were complete ripoffs of Run DMC songs. Like they probably should have gotten sued.
That's Play and I's first group. Yeah. See, now both our individual groups kind of disintegrated. You know, everybody could start doing their own thing and or getting discouraged and whatever. And me and Play, even though we were in different groups, we would hang out all the time. And so we were just like, well, you know, me and you should do something. We hang out every freaking day. Let's do something. And that was the first iteration of Kid and Play. We called ourselves Fresh Force.
Okay.
And we were very, very whack.
She's a skeezer, 'cause every time I rock,
nah, the rip off crazy. Oh, they didn't even try to hide it. Oh wow.
My friends try to warn me.
Wait, they did the whole little chant too? Oh, come on, y'all.
As we all know, hip hop has never rewarded people being unoriginal, so these things never stood a chance, and they went back to the drawing board and enlisted the aforementioned Herbie Love, who was already starting to make waves as a writer and producer, doing it for Salt and Pepper. I keep saying Salt and Pepper. It's Salt and Pepper. I don't know why I'm doing Pepper. I'm just old, but that's not even an excuse. I'm just dumb. Herbie is a major part of their story early on, and the strongest evidence that, surprise, early on, Kid and Play weren't really industry plants. It's just, it doesn't hold up. That's what I thought when I first—
Hip-hop awards people being unoriginal now. Fact.
Started researching this, and you'll see
now
why
they do
as we go on, but
I think it's because previously, like, more of the culture was in the people in the close. Okay, the culture was closer to being controlled by the people that created the culture then versus now, where the culture is modified, marketed, carefully curated, and controlled by the corporations. So I think that's like the biggest difference, you know, here is that, like, who controls the culture. And right now it's the labels and all that, you know. Black people are not the majority consumers of hip-hop anymore, so it's just a completely different dynamic. And then when it becomes about business instead of the art, like, first you can replicate something else. Like, it's gonna be more about, like, what gives you the money. Yo, King Guns with the big body rave. Yo, King Guns, what's good, bro? Hold on. WWW raid. Hold on, let me get a shotty for my guy. Yo, W King Guns, bro. What's good? How we feeling, fam? Welcome on in, you guys. We're currently watching a video about hip-hop, industry plants, all that. A very exciting conversation, thought-provoking. Welcome on in. I hope you guys are doing well. Isaiah 420, what's good? Hey, I'm gonna take a hit for you, bruh. How was the stream? You was on Tekken? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that earlier. When I was checking your stream out. How was the stream, my guy? I know it had to be a W. Make sure y'all go drop my guy King Guns a follow. W streamer Kai Demon. Tapping with him, get to know him, interacting with his chat while he's playing the game at the same time. Gotta put some respect on my guy's name. Once again, thank you very much for the raid, bro. Oh, my nose burning.
Them, along with Herbie and a lot of other people, including, again, Salt and Pepper, they just came up at the same time doing music and trying to be just talented young folks of this era in that particular area. Herbie was a visionary, and in this nascent phase of hip hop, where hip hop was still at its core dance music for parties and having fun, he
ranked up the level D. Wait, how did levels go?
He was like this Tyler the Creator type figure, but without the solo career. But his creative vision congealed into what was known as the Idol Makers Collective. And some of the biggest hits of that mid and late 80s hip hop era were made through him. Not just for Salt and Pepper, who, by the way, he dated Salt of Salt and Pepper.
God.
You might remember his face from a couple of those videos. And not just Kid and Play, but also Dana Dane, Kwame, Sweet Tea, and others. These are deep cuts that you won't remember if you're not like 35 at least. But if you're alive and paying attention to this early era of hip hop, you know these names and especially the fashions and the sound. Even to me, the late 80s and early 90s feels like an alien civilization. Even though I lived through it and I was there when it happened, it still looks otherworldly to me. The feathered hair on the black women, the zoot suits on the black men, the baggy clothes on girls. I remember New Jack Swing and the hard 90s dancing that goes with it, as Prim's Hood Cinema often says. So many people contributed to this moment in black culture. New Edition, Teddy Riley, Michael Jackson, Prince. He who shall not be named.
Oh God.
But we often forget that a lot of this starts also with Herbie Love. The looks for Salt and Pepper and Kid and Play and Kwame are instantly iconic for the time, and a lot of that came from him. This time period probably doesn't look the way it looks without him. But unlike people like Teddy Riley, who kept producing throughout the 80s and 90s, in the 2000s, and even today is making hits for K-pop artists, Herbie cut out of rap and hip hop music early for reasons.
See, that makes sense, bro, because I can tell a lot of the K-pop shit be having real hip hop influence. So that really, like, that's pretty interesting to hear that, like, one of the iconic producers, writers from that era is writing for K-pop groups. That makes so much more sense. Because I was like, why does they stuff sound so much like our music? Like, the influence is so obvious. But that makes sense. Okay. Taught me something new. See, FD always teach me, bro. This why he the GOAT.
Reasons we'll get to later. And yeah, it was all organic. Kid and Play's involvement with Herbie, a homegrown talent, kind of kills the whole industry plant idea. Herbie put them under Salt and Pepper as they started to take off, and you can see Kid and Play in early videos. Eventually, they became Salt and Pepper's opening act as they developed more music. And then they break out on their own with big hits, Getting Funky, and probably their best song, Rollin' with Kid and Play. During this era where hip hop had more room for variety and hadn't been so rigidly defined yet, it was still capable of being fun and lighthearted, and that made Kid and Play really perfect for the moment. They were party friendly, parent and kid friendly, and they just embodied what a big portion of people thought hip hop was supposed to be and would be going forward. In a lot of ways, it looked like an evolution of what the rock and roll, doo-wop and soul era was in previous generations. And that makes sense because remember, Kid and Play and them grew up watching that in the 60s and 70s. They grew up watching the Temptations, James Brown, the Jackson 5. To a lot of people, it was a continuation of those same traditions, and Kid and Play brought that exact energy with their performances and their high energy dance and their complex and flamboyant looks. And they looked so cool, and it made people want to imitate them, like this particular dance where they jump over their own legs, I saw so many people.
Wait. They the ones that popularized that shit? No way.
Yeah.
I had no idea where that came from, let alone it coming from a group. That's kind of crazy, chat.
Almost break their neck trying to learn this one.
People were doing that in school when I was a kid, bro. Like, how many generations did that pass through? Because what? That's insane.
Ooh, not that I would be included in that. But I think one of the key things, aside from Kid being this unique spectacle to see, was that they were clean, not just clean cut in their image, but also in their lyrical content. They were anti-drug, pro-safe sex, and anti-violence, etc. And this, again, is before their major mainstream success. Now, you can say that this was a cynical goal to begin with, both likely experimenting with drugs early in their careers. And as I stated, play was a form of hoodlum. But it's hard to say how cynical this was because aside from Run DMC's shoe deal, no one knew how far hip hop would go or how much money was in being commercially appealing. But wherever hip hop was going to go, Kid and Play prided themselves to be the first in line to take that trip. They were more marketable than any one of their peers. And again, this wasn't an industry thing. It was a Herbie Love thing. Herbie Love figured early on, maybe he was wrong, but figured that the hardcore aggressive hip hop that was also around at the time wasn't going to make it anywhere. Like at this time, still violence was prone to break out at hip hop shows and concerts. DJ Scott LaRock of Boogie Down Productions was possibly the first figure in hip hop to be unceremoniously murdered. It was hard for some acts to get insured to play at clubs. A lot of radio stations refused to play rap on the radio. Whatever corporate interest there was a little iffy, but not with Kid and Play. So much so that they caught the eye of another rising, unsung, legendary figure in black media, one Reginald Hudlin.
Oh, I definitely don't know who he is. I'm about to learn. I'm about to learn.
No. I don't want it to be called a skinhead. It's a movie. It's called House Parties, coming out courtesy of New Line Cinema. So we don't want to change the look too much there, Donnie.
Some of you nerds already know the name, as Hudlin is responsible for possibly the most beloved run of comics in the Black Panther comic series. But well before that, during this era, Hudlin was proven to be a very talented black mind in media. Hudlin started out making music videos, and today this has turned into a prolific career as a director and producer for shows like Modern Family and The Office, Django Unchained, etc. He even served as the president for BET for a few years. But his first big break is also the height of Kid and Play's career, the hood classic comedy House Party. Hudlin had...
So he just a legend. He just a legend all around. Like, okay. Like, in multiple decades. Bet. Those be, and it's always the people who name we don't know behind the scenes, behind this stuff. It's crazy, man.
Written and gotten the green light for the film, and he immediately wanted Kid and Play for the lead roles after having worked with them in earlier music videos. But the studio ironically wanted Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. However, the studio
that would have been a good combo too. I mean, it obviously would have been more popular.
Cinema was actually in the middle of suing Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff over the Nightmare on My Street video. So Will and Jeff declined, not wanting to do business with them while they were getting sued. And Hudlin got to go with his first choice, Kid and Play. It's also rumored that Kid and Play were set to be the stars for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, with Play being Will's character and Kid being Carlton.
Oh,
like,
that would be crazy.
This alternate universe.
What? That would have been insane.
Who marries Jada Pinkett? Does she get to do what she really wants to do and go live on a farm instead of forcing herself to marry Will? Is Tupac alive in this universe? House Party is a classic for a lot of reasons. It's kind of like a black Ferris Bueller's Day Off to an extent, because it's this pocket story of just one adventurous day in a young man's life. Kid and Play are planning a big house party because Play's parents are out of town, but Kid has to sneak out of the house to go to the party because he was grounded due to a fight at school earlier that day. Not a very complex plot, but the actual execution of the movie is pretty amazing. It didn't get great reviews, but it was an immediate hit with black youth audiences, and you can see why. It's because it so genuinely got what black youth culture was at the time. And even today, it's aged far better than most media from the 80s and 90s. It's got still classic moments and sayings, AKA prehistoric memes.
Ladies, B-Love's in the house.
Ew, dragon breath.
Why don't you just go home? Little test tube, baby.
There's a big government scandal going on that you need to know about it. The government is actually stealing money from unsuspecting property owners. Let me explain. Every day, the government forecloses on 3,000 or more property owners because they've fallen behind on their property taxes. This amounts to roughly $14 million in tax foreclosures every single day. Let me give you a specific example. Let's say someone doesn't pay taxes for 3 years, which amounts to roughly $22,000 in back taxes and penalties on a $200,000 property. The property goes to an auction and an investor steals it for $100,000. With me so far? The government uses $22,000 to pay off the taxes due, leaving an excess of $78,000. And here's the simple question that launched me into a new adventure and made me millions and millions of dollars over the years. What happens to all that extra money? The answer to that question, it might make your blood boil, but it also represents an amazing opportunity for you to make a lot of money while helping people who really need it. It's made me and many others millions upon millions of dollars. You want to know what happens to that extra money? The government is hoarding it, but it doesn't belong to them. And you can make huge finder's fees by recovering these funds for the former property owners. It's not difficult to do. You simply need to follow a hidden formula the government doesn't want you to know. And you don't need to be an attorney or have any special licenses to do it.
Ain't no ways.
So I have a theory that I've talked about in other videos that Barack Obama is like this event horizon for black media, where before Barack Obama, if you wanted to make black media, you just worried about what black people wanted to see. And then after Barack Obama, suddenly you had more interest in what white people wanted to see. And although there's good media and shows both before and after Obama, you can always tell that pre-Obama era black media because it doesn't seek at all to appeal to white audiences. And what this means, among other things, is that there's just so many like core insidery jokes and elements of humor and just things that if you're not a part of black culture from then, especially, you probably don't get it, but if you do get it, if you were there, you're probably pointing like Leonardo DiCaprio at a bunch of different stuff that happens, especially some of the people that were in the movie at the time. Like in the movie, it co-stars the legendary Robin Harris, who sadly died suddenly not long after this film. Robin Harris was looking to be the next Eddie Murphy at the time. He was only 36 years old when he died of a heart attack, unfortunately. You also have John Witherspoon, AKA Pops from the Boondocks. Tisha Campbell and Martin Lawrence are there well before they became Martin and Gina. Martin Lawrence, by the way, actually worked with Kid and Play and Herbie the Love Bug and Salt and Pepper. I told myself I wasn't gonna get into all this extra shit. Tisha Campbell's friend is the mama from Baby Boy. Clifton Powell is there. And if you watch Prim Hood Cinema, you know he's everywhere. The most recognizable, unrecognizable black actor in the history of film. George Clinton is there. And then the aforementioned members of Full Force playing the bullies, which makes me wonder, like, nobody that did R&B music was as swole as these dudes. I don't understand why they look like this. They look like the recruiting class for the 1985 Miami Hurricanes, but you know, a different time, I guess. And these are just the ones I know off the bat. Like, not a lot of research went into that. There's probably even more people that I just don't recognize myself or didn't hear about. But at the center are Kid and Play, and they're not giving some Academy Award winning performance, but they're still carrying the movie with charisma and chemistry. Kid's inner dork comes across naturally, and Play's inner slick talking hustler is just as good. And together, when they have the mic or the dance floor, you understand why Hutland wanted them for the movie. Like, there's this dance scene in the middle of the movie that is so iconic, and I remember seeing people try to again mimic it. Like, this was the TikTok dance trend for the era, and it still remains a crowd pleaser for them decades later. The movie's beloved, but it doesn't turn them into megastars, but it still elevates them to a level above other rappers at the time. Like, there were rap movies, kinda. There were hip hop related movies, but there weren't any like big budget major releases. The Fat Boys, I think, were the first real, yes, the Fat Boys were real. They were the first rap group to have a real movie, but they're also the Fat Boys. So this being such an instant classic and ubiquitous classic was a big deal. It was probably the first true hip hop culture movie. Black youth loved it and still do to this day because, again, it acutely told our story, and a joyful one at that, because this also came at a time where so many black movies were these gritty hood dramas about sadness and pain and crime, etc. in the hood. And this was like this shining light on the hill. And sadly, it was also the high point of Kid and Play's careers in media and in music, although they would still see more success before the inevitable fall off.
I just used a chord progression.
Damn, let's see how they fell off, chat. Let me guess, they broke up. The group's
It's
always
around
break
here
up.
that you do get the strongest argument that they were in fact industry plants. Because although Irby, the Love Bug, and Hutland and Salt and Pepper helped shepherd them to this point, after this point, they signed with ICM Management, the biggest management company for entertainment at the time, and are represented by a man named Bernie Brillstein, their old white man that we imagine behind any industry plant. And this opens them up to so much more stuff that they probably wouldn't have got without Bernie Brillstein. But it also proves the point that the concept of being an industry plant isn't all that great, because everything they do with this company after House Party is kind of trash. But still, before the quality of their content settles in, they make 2 more House Party movies. The relatively well-received House Party 2 in 1992, which is pretty bad upon rewatching. Like at the moment as a kid, I liked the movie, but it did not hold up at all.
This is black men using their power of authority against another brother. Hey, yo, black, this ain't correct.
Example, let's look at this jam on the album that I wrote called Daddy Called Me.
Whoa. Yeah, I knew I saw this guy before. He just got big locks now.
And House Party 3 was confirmed unwatchable when it came out in 1994.
Boy, you get mad, man. So tell me about your financier. She pretty?
Oh, my fiance.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
See, my girl and I, we get along fine.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just having a little problem getting her parents to like me.
Parents? What am I getting like you for? Boy, just be yourself. If people don't like you if you're being yourself, fuck them.
They also released my personal favorite movie of theirs, Class Act, which is basically House Party 1.5. It damn near has the exact same story beats and character dynamics of House Party, but they're at least not playing Kid and Play in the movie. On top of these films, they also had a 9-issue comic with Marvel Comics, which was a spinoff from a Saturday morning cartoon, which they also got, which was supposed to materialize into toy and merchandise deals as well. And like, people maybe don't understand, there's no bigger, more reliable money than merchandising and toys. Like, that would have put them in a world far beyond they could have imagined, but unfortunately it all broke down. Still, just having that, 4 movies, a comic, a TV show, that's unheard of then and now. Today, you're lucky if you get a Sprite commercial, maybe a DLC skin in Fortnite or something, but a multimedia entity as a rapper, that's just not happening. And it wasn't happening until Kid and Play kind of opened those doors. And after Kid and Play, and kind of during, you suddenly see rappers, not just A-listers, but like Fredro Starr from the Onyx had like multiple roles, and Sticky Fingers. Both these niggas, the Onyx niggas was actors. Anyway, unfortunately for them, it seems like they weren't fully appreciating like what this new level of exposure and marketing was like. They didn't appreciate the business after their cartoon was unceremoniously canceled and their comic and toy line met the same fate. Instead of rolling with these punches and continue to seek out media success, it sounds like they cut off their nose to spite their face and low-key quit the industry. Like, supposedly they had a sitcom in development with NBC that would have had them co-starring with Don Riggles. And like at this same time, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Living Single are becoming huge hits. I'm shocked that they didn't see the value in making the jump to TV. And this is all while their musical career is clearly showing signs of slowing down, or more accurately, being overshadowed. And by 1994, after the bomb that was House Party 3, the writing was on the wall for Kid and Play, and the moment had passed them by. Aside from the fact that, again, that film was unwatchable, a clear step down from the second film, which was also bad, it felt like in a short period of time, just 4 or 5 years, they went from being cool and cutting edge and hip and entertaining to corny and played out. The kids that liked them as 11, 12-year-olds weren't really feeling them as 16 and 17-year-olds.
Yeah, and then also too, like I said, Kid and Play were transitioning. So, you know, groups like us we were looking corny. Mm-hmm. You know, we were just like, you know what I mean? Groups like us and Kwame and even, Will and Jeff, like we were, you know what Eminem used to say, you cold product.
And even as they showed efforts to change and keep up, their imagery was so iconic to that previous era that I don't think people allowed them to move from that spot in their minds. Like the weirdest thing to me, even today in 2024, was going from House Party 1 and 2 to House Party 3, where a kid has this Milli Vanilli fade lock thing going on and being like, oh, why are you doing that? Why do y'all look like this? Why do y'all sound like this? This is all wrong. Go back to the first House Party. And this is why the aforementioned Hurry the Love Bug saw the writing on the wall and cashed out. He left while they tried to hold on a bit longer, but eventually they had to face their fate. Because even with their industry backing and success that was unmatched for the time, they were dead. But not just dead, they were murdered. They were shot in the head in broad daylight for everyone to see. And the person that pulled the trigger was Gangsta Rap.
Oh, yeah. Because it made them not look cool. They're like, what is this corny ass shit? I'm trying to say fuck the police.
This is an epic story.
Y'all over here rapping about not doing drugs. Hey, Ice Cube over here making Today is a Good Day, or Today Was a Good Day, or whatever that song called. Y'all know the one. You talk about smoking weed and shit. Snoop D-O-double-G over there smoking weed in every pit. Come on, nobody want to look like the lame square nigga. Nobody want to be the square. It happens. I'm just saying. Insane Remember. Oh, classic.
So astute viewers familiar with this era of hip hop that I've been talking about have probably noticed that I've been leaving out some major figures that were big in hip hop at the time, namely NWA, the Ghetto Boys, Ice-T, Kool G Rap, and other gangster rap or much more raw and uncut rap acts at the time that were making waves in the late 80s. And although they didn't have nearly as much corporate interest as Kid and Play, gangster rap still had a huge groundswell of support and a huge presence in hip hop culture, just as big as anything Kid and Play were doing. Really, it was kind of like an arms race from the late 80s to the early 90s to dictate what the music and the culture of hip hop should be going forward. This new thing of hip hop that was really only a little over a decade old wasn't quite sure where it was going. Was hip hop supposed to be righteous and political, as we saw with Public Enemy and the aforementioned Boogie Down Productions? Or should hip hop be gritty as depicted in those early gangster rap figures I just mentioned? Or was hip hop
CIA operation, the gangster rap chat, bro?
Just here for
it was the CIA funded that side of it. Hey man, they had to put their hand on the scale.
A good time, like what Kid and Play was doing along with Will Smith. This was a legit question at the time, and by the 90s it was becoming clear that the fun stuff that was unoffensive and highly marketable was not gonna win. And ironically, a big reason for that was how commercially successful and marketable and big it had gotten in a short period of time. See, one of hip hop's most significant figures to this day is its irreverence. Hip hop is counterculture and on some levels revolutionary. And there's nothing revolutionary about anti-drug commercials and Saturday morning cartoons. It just did not fit with the way people who were of hip hop culture imagined it when they were in the center of it. And for Kid and Play, the center of hip hop was the consumer. And the consumer was white and kind of young. And it didn't help that their actual music wasn't very good. It wasn't even close. In 1992, Kid and Play released their third and last album, Face the Nation, a preachy kind of weird thing that seemed to want to keep up with the growing trend of hip hop being more than party music, but lacked the conviction to get it done effectively. They even made the mistake of dissing 2 Live Crew and Uncle Luke, to which he responded with probably the meanest diss record that I had never heard up until researching for this video, a song called Bitch Ass Kid and Hoe Ass Play.
Y'all hot niggas, I'm a field nigga. We field niggas here in Miami. That's why y'all niggas can't understand us. Y'all fuck niggas talking too much shit. Y'all niggas better watch what you're saying, because y'all fuck niggas, y'all don't know. Y'all.
But that same year, in 1992, like we think
crazy on it.
Of that as early in hip hop, but some classic shit was coming out. We had Gang Starr's Daily Operation, Boogie Down Productions' Sex and Violence. Redman released What the Album. UGK released Too Hard to Swallow, and most significantly, Dr. Dre released The Chronic. Still to this day, one of the best rap albums of all time, in an era where New Jack Swing was still a prominent sound and breakbeats was still the core of so much of what hip hop was. Nothing sounded like what Dr. Dre had just created, and the rap game, in fact, the entirety of music, the music world, stood up and took notice. By comparison, Kid and Play's Face the Nation didn't just seem corny, it seemed like a relic in its own time by comparison. Kid and Play simply didn't keep up with other forms of hip hop artistically. It wasn't just the fact that it was gangster rap, it was that gangster rap, for all its flaws, was art, and Kid and Play really wasn't. And hip hop would only get more artistically ambitious as the decade went on. By 1994, again, the year House Party 3 released, we would get several all-time classics. Nas's Illmatic, Biggie's Ready to Die, Scarface's The Diary, and Outkast's Southern Playalistic Cadillac Funky Music. Even the conscious alternative rap that was beginning to fade into the background still had good stuff, with Common's Resurrection, Diggable Planet's Blowout Comb, and Arrested Development's Zinga Al Madouni. All of that was happening while Kid and Play was still kind of doing the same thing they were doing in 1988. The 90s is when hip hop went from a musical and cultural aesthetic and movement to a complex art form, and Kid and Play weren't really artists like that, nor were they complex. But this wasn't some industry plant stuff. It wasn't a scandal or anything complex. Kid and Play just fell off. They came up organically. Everything until their highest point was all them and other people of the culture. But in the end, real hip hop won regardless. The corporate backing stuff that they had actually is probably what got them killed in the first place. But I don't like saying real hip hop won. Not if you really pay attention to what happened to hip hop at this time. Hindsight tells us that great music from the 90s notwithstanding, I think we got the whole aftermath of this kind of fucked up. And again, this is another reason why I don't buy into the industry plant concept then and now. Today, when people say industry plant, they're insinuating that the art being presented is somehow more manufactured and commodified than the art that comes from less successful or visible artists, or artists that are more real and raw and less connected to the industry. And this isn't categorically false, but it presents a false dichotomy that hides the reality of what the music industry is then and now, which is that the entire system at the time and still today is an industry. Specifically at the time where Kid and Play was most active, there were no parts of the industry not controlled by corporate forces. Like if you pointed to, say, Public Enemy or NWA and said that was real hip hop, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Yes, they were better from an artistic standpoint, but those acts were still within the industry, still signed to record labels. There were still the same old white man in control of what hip hop was in the public eye. Like we had it in our head that there was a battle for the soul of hip hop in the future, and that Kid and Play's youth-friendly sanitized product represented corporate white influence for commercial appeal. And you know, NWA and Rakim was raw and real hip hop, too raw for the radio and only here for the streets. But no, each genre was just viable in a unique way. And the corporations, the industry, were on both sides of the fence, waiting to see who was going to win the race and emerge to be the most viable vessel for them to make money. True. NWA was signed to Ruthless Records, who distribute through Sony. Public Enemy was signed to Def Jam, which is also distributed through Sony. Kid and Play had a few labels connected to him, but the parent company was essentially MGM. Everyone was like that at the time. There was only 2 or 3 real major companies at the top of every rap label that you can think of. At the time, there was no Spotify, there was no TikTok. You could be an independent artist, but that meant being broke and selling your music out of your trunk. And I'm not trying to disrespect the art form or the history of hip hop when I say that there was no real hip hop ever. I'm just saying that from the moment Run DMC signed that Adidas deal, it all became the culture industry. They were all industry plants. I don't think that it's a coincidence, or should it be in retrospect surprising that the monstrous image of gangster rap with black men imagining themselves as brutes and super predators proved to be more lucrative and efficient as a product to sell, and thus dominated all of hip hop for the next decade. These corporations, the industry, recognized that the larger, more lucrative white audiences that listen to rap were more interested in gangster fantasies from NWA than the fun time, positive dance music of Kid and Play. And the fact that the culture endorsed it as real didn't hurt either, which is ironic because if you know anything about NWA, they were probably much more fake than Kid and Play. Like Kid, yes, was a dork who just wandered into rap, but Play was more street than any of the dudes in NWA. The only person in NWA with any real life street credibility was Eazy-E, and at most the rest of the members witnessed maybe some gangster stuff, but none of them lived it. And then they had the nerve to make fun of Kid and Play for being corny while they toured together.
It was like that. It was one time where a cop caught me right after I sold the shotgun and traded it for 3 snub-nosed 38s and 2 high-powered pellet guns. For those who lived in New York at the time, we had a mayor by the name of Mayor Koch, who had just passed this law that whoever was, because the gun thing was getting out of hand. So this thing was whoever was found with a gun was gonna get a certain amount of years, and for every bullet found in the gun and on your person, there'd be a year for every bullet. So
That's
I
insane.
just finished doing this transaction, got some money, got traded the shot.
Whoa, that's in it. What kind of law is that? That's crazy. Each bullet in your gun, they're gonna add a year to your sentence.
Gun for these 38 snub noses, yada yada yada. And I got all this money on me, and like, excuse the term, an asshole, I decided to hop the train style.
And yet we followed them as they talked about fake lives of crime and drugs that they didn't even know anything about. And Kid and Play were trying to be drug-free and positive. We called them corny. And that shit is cringe in retrospect. That is an L for the culture. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to get into some respectability politics bullshit. Like, I don't think rap has caused any of the problems that Black youth have faced for the last 30 years. The same issues that Black people are facing then and now. These things were happening in the 70s too, when we were at one of the most violent times in American history, and Black folks were listening to soul music and R&B the whole time. So I'm not implying gangster rap ruined a generation by itself, but I do think that the image and culture of hip hop that we promoted was definitely not something that was very naturally us, at least not natural in the way we tend to think it. Because why wasn't Kid and Play natural? They were just as organic a thing as anybody else in that rap equation. I think the reason why we look at them as not truly representative of real hip hop or the Black culture experience based on what gangster rap and hip hop has tricked us into thinking for the last 30 years. That is the culture industry at work. It's music and art that shapes the way we perceive and reproduce culture. We now look at rappers as leaders and idols and
the fucking Photoshop Kendrick Lamar Martin Luther King picture. Who did this? What Kendrick Laser photoshopped this picture, bro? What Kendrick Laser photoshopped this picture? This is literally insane work. What the fuck?
Maybe that's true in a few cases, but it's definitely not true in most cases. And we can't
Drake
tell the
as
difference
Jesus, oh
because we
my.
never learned how to scrutinize our own culture within this industry. This is what Adorno and Horkheimer were trying to point out with their analysis of the culture industry. They recognize that as creative and amazing the art produced might be, it's still a production. It's still the creation, that all this art serves the purpose of being bought and sold. Hip hop in its sentiment had a revolutionary potential and a radical implication, but as soon as the radicals started taking brand deals, the revolution was over. And of course, Kid and Play fit into that description. It's not like it would have been any different if hip hop would have became more of what they were than anything else. But I do feel like it would have been less likely to, I don't know, capture the radical imagination of an entire industry. It would have just maybe been a cooler, better vibe for the most part. Because the truth is, everyone is industry plants. There's a reason why Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper, Martin Lawrence all became famous from that same crew, because they collaborated with each other, because they put each other on as much as they could. And as they became successful, they kept connected to each other and worked with each other across all these areas. The same for NWA. When Cube and Dre splintered off, Cube gets into acting and learns how to make movies. And he learns from John Singleton and F. Gary Gray. And then he makes his own films and guides his own media career. And the next thing you know, he's in a movie with John Witherspoon that we also saw in House Party. The reason why there's so many cool figures and historical Black artists and actors and comedians and singers connected to Kid and Play is because it was a small group that had to be connected to each other in order to share resources that they were getting, because they had access to that larger Hollywood apparatus, because they showed themselves to be valuable to the machine and they were let in the door. And thankfully, some of them kept the door open for others on the way in. But let's be clear, when they went in to the machine, They became a part of it, and we should always remain critical of that, even when they make things we like. We should never get too enthusiastic at the ability of these talented artists to reproduce culture that we think truly, truly reflects the entirety of our being as Black people, because it doesn't, or at least it shouldn't, because if it's coming from that large apparatus, then it's not truly coming from Blackness. We should always be very critical when we're inclined to see one form of art as real and another as fake, because it's all fake, all of it, especially Drake. And then thinking about this, it makes me
love Drake catching straight. Yo, he does not fuck with Drake.
Kind of sad that
he does not
didn't
like Drake
give
at
Kid
all.
and Play their flowers at the time, that we allowed them to kind of be this scapegoat to be the wrong type of hip hop for the era, when I think hip hop might be better off with a little more fun, a little less seriousness. I think some of that soul, rock and roll, R&B aesthetic and dudes wanting to perform and dance and be in costumes and be passionate about their art form and their talent is truly missing from hip hop right now. I think this is why you hear about people not wanting to go to rap shows, because the modern rap superstars right now, a lot of them, not all of them,
unless some of the women. Yeah, Tyler Creator be on his shit.
But a lot of them don't really love the art of it. They're only there for the culture industry commodity part. And that sucks.
They want the bread.
I'm not saying Kid and Play would have fixed that, but I think in an alternate reality where Kid and Play and Will Smith and Chubb Rock and Kwame, Special Ed and Dougie Fresh and all these more fun party-based rappers are allowed to continue to be a big part of the culture going forward, I think that's a much better universe to live in. And yes, I do think in that universe, Jada Pinkett gets to marry Tupac.
What's happening, baby? Hi, we're visible.
Oh, Lord. Poor thing, she still never got over him.
Kid and Play, despite being pushed aside by gangster rap, managed to stay relatively relevant. Like I said, they're a part of this constant touring circuit for old school rappers. So folks like Salt and Pepper, Dougie Fresh, they're always coming to a city near you. If you're in a major city, there's always an old school concert on the way, and they're usually a part of one or two of them. And Kid had a relatively significant acting career, managing to stay busy, popping up on sitcoms as a guest appearance all through the 90s and 2000s. Play went into ministry and became a born-again Christian while also still working in media behind the scenes. And they always seem to pop up for a podcast appearance or two, though I can't vouch for some of the company that they keep sometimes, but that's, that's another conversation. And while a few good hits, two pretty good movies, and a lot of memories is a lot less than some of the other legends from this era, that's still a really amazing legacy for the hottest rap act of the late 80s and early 90s. And if you look at the record, almost all of that came before the industry plant label would be appropriate. The rest was the true essence of hip hop, just young Black people trying to make it. And while the reality is that hip hop was captured then and still is now, and is just as corporate and commodified in its state then as it is now, it doesn't mean that it's not valuable and good. We just have to improve our analysis of it. If you don't take away anything from this video, take away the fact that the goal is to not look at hip hop passively, to be critical of it. And maybe in the future, with the decentralized nature of music these days and some real good conversations and coordination from the culture, maybe we can reach the potential hip hop had way back in the 80s before it got corporatized and commodified. I think it's still possible. Speaking of both reaching full potential, but also being corporately sponsored, let's talk about today's sponsor, Nebula. Talking about hip hop is one of my favorite things to do on this channel.
W video. Yeah, let's subscribe to his Nebula. I know what he's talking about.
In my hip hop videos, I use uncopyrighted music in live performances, and it works, but it's not the same. This is just one example of why I'm so happy that I'm a member of Nebula and why Gators.
Okay, yeah. I'll subscribe to the Nebula. Okay. Help him out. W video.